Hey, welcome to the Elijah Rising podcast. Elijah Rising is an organization empowering women recovering from sexual exploitation. This episode is going to help you become more informed about the issue of sex trafficking and inspire you to take action. Hey, welcome to the podcast. I'm Adam, and today I am joined once again by Melody Jacobs. Melody is the Office and Intervention Administrator for Elijah Rising. Melody, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you for having me again.
Happy to have you back on, because today what we want to discuss is intervention strategies and challenges. Elijah Rising is committed to kind of four key pillars to combat trafficking: prayer, awareness, intervention, and restoration. And so Melody has really come into her own in the role of leading our intervention strategies and has something to say about the challenges that are related to that. And so that's what we're talking about today. So Melody, let's just begin with an update, shall we?
Okay.
Let's just talk about the status of Elijah Rising intervention. What's going on? Are they happening? Obviously, coronavirus kind of shut them down for a while. So what's up? How's it going? What's going on?
So we are doing interventions. We are moving at a slower pace in build out again.
Sure.
Just because we want to keep the ladies we encounter safe, and we want to also keep our volunteers safe. So we're not in a rush. We want to do this with excellence. So we are slowly building out interventions.
Okay. Yeah. And so what else is happening in terms of that build out that you're talking about, and just taking the opportunities to revitalize that, and kind of what's the goal there?
So we have taken this time, and we're really excited because we are wanting to build and launch this new platform of training.
Yeah.
You know, we've had training in the past that begins
Sure.
as soon as you're at that intervention, we have that bit of training, and then there's definitely the hands-on training. But we really have noticed that there is a need and a want for more training before you even step foot at an intervention.
Yeah.
And so we've taken this opportunity, and that God has given us, to build an orientation, an overview, so like a volunteer can sign up for that first and be at that meeting, meet us. We get to meet you, and then starts the journey of the volunteer training into the various lanes that Elijah Rising has for volunteers. So you would be able to be a part of an orientation meeting, a volunteer orientation meeting.
Okay.
And then from there, you could find one of the areas, say like you want to volunteer with our interventions. Then you would have a training track that you can follow. And learn more about the different kinds of interventions that we do. You could maybe have a heart to volunteer with our restorative care program.
Okay.
And so there's training for that.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to be a volunteer who helps us with general duties and general services, like setting up a computer lab or stuffing a million envelopes.
Yeah, that happens.
It's a huge need.
Yeah, for sure.
And that volunteer is just as important as the intervention volunteer.
Absolutely.
So we want to be able to equip and empower people with a more in-depth awareness of who we are and what we do, and also train them and let them know exactly what they're stepping into in that lane of intervention. We want to be able to partner with you in finding that perfect volunteer lane for you.
Yeah. So what I kind of hear you saying is like we're really creating a new way to engage volunteers, not just for intervention, because intervention is so volunteer heavy, right? I mean, the majority of the work that we do in terms of outreach is really volunteers. It's not even the staff so much. But what you're saying is like we're kind of creating I don't know what the right word is. I want to say pipeline, but like an on-ramp for volunteers across the organization, not just intervention.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So in terms of intervention specifically, kind of turning the corner back to just intervention, what's it look like? Like, how can people participate in this weekly outreach to those who are currently experiencing exploitation? Like, help me like kind of start from the very beginning. How can somebody sign up? And then, what's next? What does it look like?
So what the volunteer is going to want to do is, if you say you have a passion and you want to get involved with Elijah Rising, you're going to go to our website and go to our volunteer/intervention page and sign up for that first overview orientation.
Yeah.
After that, then you're going to be placed on the intervention training tracks.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
as opposed to like a restorative care training track or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
So say I have a passion. I've sat in the orientation meeting, and man, when they spoke about the strip club intervention, my heart burned for those ladies.
Right.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sign up, and I'm going to do the training modules that Elijah Rising has that equips me with etiquette, intervention etiquette, and
So
what it
important.
looks like to be a part of a strip club intervention team. So after you go through those training modules, then we actually place you into one of those teams. Maybe it's the Spring Intervention Strip Club team or the Baytown Intervention Strip Club team. We'll try to place people in their community, because what our goal is to give you the tools to reach your community with awareness and resources and cover it in prayer.
Yeah.
This is really to empower people to stand up and be the voice that these ladies do not have, because it's been stolen from them.
Yeah.
So that volunteer is connected with that team, and maybe once a month, they meet at the intervention site.
Yeah, which is often at churches or
churches. Here at the main office.
Right. Yeah.
We have a team here at the main office. So in various places, and you'll meet up with your team. You'll pray, and then you will go out with your team leaders as a group into different places, into different strip clubs, giving out resources, talking to the ladies, praying with them, and starting to really build that relationship with women who are encountering this trauma in your community.
Yeah. So tell us about the teams. So you've mentioned strip club. What are the other teams? What does that mean?
So we have illicit massage business intervention teams, and we call them IMB teams.
Yep.
And these are teams that go to massage businesses that we suspect have women that are being trafficked.
Yeah.
We try to build relationships with them. We bring resources. We pray with them, and we go in. We have a couple of routes. We try not to hit the same place like too many times in a row. So there is some strategy behind that, and I won't get into the weeds of that.
Sure, yeah.
but you go and you build relationships. We have the Cantina intervention team that goes into cantinas that we know women are being trafficked out of. We have street teams.
Yep.
There are areas in Houston, for example, Bissonnette is called the Track. There are multiple areas in Houston that women are being prostituted.
Yeah.
So we have teams that are targeting those areas and are there building relationships with those women.
Yeah. So I think, one of the questions we get kind of often is how do you know where these places are, right? I'm often asked, wow, you go out, like you meet them where they are? Like, how do you know they're there? So you organize teams of volunteers literally every week to go to hundreds of different locations. How do you know where you're going?
Sure, that's a great question. And it's a valid question, too, because are we doing this in vain? Are we spinning our wheels? No, we are not. So we have received our research, our information from local survivors, from other organizations that we partner with, from government agencies that we have relationship with, and also from my own research.
Yeah, that's right.
There are ways, and I won't get into too much of the details, that I can research places and know that these type of things are happening.
Yeah.
And honestly, like on the street, you can go out there and just
You
sit in your
see-
car and
yeah.
you will see that it is happening.
Yeah.
So we do our very best to research any place that we are bringing a volunteer team.
Sure.
You know, two, because of safety. We want our volunteers to be safe.
Yeah.
We want to move with excellence in where we go and who we speak with.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And that's so important, right? I mean, because that is a question we get often too, is like, hey, you know, we know you do intervention, but like that seems crazy and that seems unsafe, you know, but the truth is, I mean, I've been doing this work for a decade, right? And so it's like, I've been on more interventions than I can possibly count. Not so much these days, but in those early days. And, you know, it's not that it's like 100% safe, but like where else in your life are you ever even 100% safe, right? You know what I mean? Like there is a level of risk in anything that you choose to do with your time. But it is, you know, just back to your point, like it is a priority of Elijah Rising that like safety is an utmost priority, not just for our staff, but really for those volunteers. And I think most importantly, for those that we're actually going to serve. We don't want to put them in jeopardy or put them at risk in any way either, which goes back to the training of all of our volunteers, right? That's why you have to know what you're doing before you go. Okay, so then one of the things I'm interested to hear you talk about is that strategy piece again, that approach. So are there different approaches to reaching people in those different typologies is a term that we're using a lot these days, those different types of trafficking, the IMB, the cantina, the strip club, the street. Are there different approaches?
Yes and no.
Okay, great. Yeah. This is a question I've never asked Melody before, so I'm really interested in to hear like what you think.
So yes, in the fact that we always approach people with the love of Jesus.
Yeah, okay, so that's the same.
That is across the boards
Right.
with no judgment and love. If I have a woman who's being trafficked, a buyer or a pimp in front of me,
Right.
then I am going to speak to them with truth and love.
Yeah. Non-negotiable.
Non-negotiable. If
Right.
you have judgments, if you struggle, then sign up for our intercessory prayer team, because prayer, first and foremost, will wring out any judgments or issues you might have.
Well said.
You know, so and that's okay. It's normal. It's human. There's no judgment on our part, but it is something that you have to choose. Like we choose to go in love. So every place, every person, we are choosing to say, you know what, we love you despite despite what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, we believe that everyone has an opportunity to make a better choice.
Well, I mean, and every one of those people, whether it's buyer, trafficker, you know, victim of those traffickers, they are each and every one made in the image of God.
Absolutely.
Each and every one deserving of dignity, love, and respect. Even though they might be a person committing a heinous injustice in that moment, we have this opportunity to be not, you know, I was going to use kind of an overused phrase, but like the hands and feet of Jesus in those people's lives in that moment, right?
We do.
And so that has to be the priority, right?
Absolutely.
So I kind of got us off a little bit. So approaches to different locations.
Yes. Okay. And so the note part is that it doesn't look the same. Like, we have some interventions that, like our street interventions that happen every single Friday.
Right.
We can be out there and it does not matter. I don't care if I'm messing up the pimp's business.
Yeah, right.
In that sense, you know?
Right.
But there are businesses that at a front as a business that we do have to be mindful of. That if I say I go into an IMB every single week, my picture's probably going to be on the front door, like, don't let them in.
Right, right.
So we do need to be wise. And even on the street, let me backtrack, because I do want to clarify, even on the street, like if there is a lady that we are encountering and she cannot talk to us, we never stop her. We never try to hold on to her in conversation. We are very, very mindful because I might make myself feel amazing because I got to have this long conversation, but she probably will pay the price for that long conversation later.
Yeah.
So in the terms of we can be out there on location every Friday, yes, that looks different. But when we're going to businesses, we are mindful and we try to just keep that to like once a month.
Yeah, yeah. You know, one of the things that people ask me a lot, Melody, is, and so somebody just asked me this the other day, was, how do you know what to say? And so I wonder, like, if you think about, you know, whether it is that scenario, you know, it's 11 o'clock at night out on the street, or it's, you know, standing in a loud cantina, right, with just blaring music and people dancing everywhere, right? Or, you know, fill in the blank of one of these locations. How do you know what to say to this woman that's standing in front of you? What do you do in that scenario?
So I always like to explain it to people and bring it kind of back to earth.
Okay, great.
What would you say to someone that maybe you're sitting across from a table having a cup of coffee?
Yeah.
What would you say to someone who maybe you walked by in the grocery store and they're having a hard time? You can see that maybe they can't reach the top shelf. Hey, can I get that for you?
Do you need some help?
Yeah. So yes, realistically, the environment is something that most volunteers are not acclimated to and it's not somewhere they visit on a weekly basis. And I understand that.
Sure.
You know? But if you can choose to, like, you know what, this person is just like me. Mm-hmm. You know, they've had some decisions possibly made for them that led them to this place, and it's sad.
Yeah.
And that could be me.
Yeah.
So you speak to them like you would speak to anyone else.
Yeah.
Who you are trying to encourage and trying to build relationship with.
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to take a break in the podcast, but when we come back, I want us to talk about intervention sites. That's some language that we use frequently here. I want to talk about what that looks like. And so stick with us. We'll see you on the other side of the break. Take a second and think about how many subscription services you have. Netflix, Hulu, Spotify. If you're like me, you have more than you actually use. That money just disappears out of your bank account, or maybe you don't even use the product anymore. So why not donate that same amount of money to Elijah Rising and know that every dollar you spend directly serves those who are overcoming sex trafficking? We invite you to join The Rise. The Rise is a dedicated community of recurring donors who give strategically to fund the work of ending sex trafficking. Join our community of more than 200 members who have decided to rise up. $10 a month can provide services for women seeking to exit exploitation. $40 a month can provide job training and employment for an overcomer of trafficking. Donate online via credit card, debit, ACH, or Apple and Google Pay at elijahrising.org/rise. Hey, welcome back. So Melody, let's talk about what an intervention site is. I think, as I said before the break, like that's language we use a lot here, but it just kind of struck me the other day, like maybe nobody knows what the heck that means. So Melody, what is an intervention site for Elijah Rising?
Okay, so I'm so glad you asked. So basically an intervention site is a location where our teams can come together and meet.
Yeah.
Start the meeting, go over intervention etiquette. Maybe someone new is joining that particular team.
Yeah.
So they go over that intervention etiquette. Maybe there's questions that need to be answered. Then there's a time of prayer. All of our intervention sites start with a time of prayer.
Yeah.
Which is huge. It's important.
Sure.
So then from that point, say if it's like a street intervention, there's a little place where they can pray and then they come out and set up the table out on the sidewalk or by the sidewalk. If it's an intervention site where it's located at a church and there's teams that are going out to IMBs, teams that are going out to strip clubs, or maybe a team is hitting hotel awareness, which is one I I actually didn't mention
That's
earlier.
right. That's another team. Yeah.
That's another
That's
intervention
good.
team.
That's good. Yeah.
So they have a place, a meeting place. People pick, hey, I can drive. The team jumps in that car and they go and visit the pre-designated sites.
Right. Right.
And then at the end of the night, they come back. Everybody collects. Testimonies are told. We gather the notes and we pray out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And everybody goes home. So that's an intervention site.
Yeah, so it's kind of like it's the rally point, right? I mean, it's like where you do the briefing, so to speak, before you. It's like the strategy of the strategy before you go out. So okay. So like let's say hypothetically somebody is watching me right now, watching you speak right now, or listening to us in their car, and they're thinking, well, maybe I want to do that. So what does it look like to launch an intervention site? What would that mean? Do we just get to pick that? Is that like an Elijah Rising thing? Or are we waiting for people, for churches, for community groups to come to us and say, hey, we volunteer, like, let us go? What does it look like?
So launching an intervention site, becoming a site leader, that is a person who is literally overseeing that intervention site and overseeing the teams that go out, looks like a whole lot of passion.
Okay.
A whole lot of excellence and a whole lot of diligence.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
It is
okay.
a lot. A lot. But you really have to have a passion for it because you are overseeing and leading this, and it is vitally important. So for our site leaders, who that's what you would be called if you said, hey, I have this church.
Yeah.
I have this this group of people who are passionate and we want to start an intervention site. I would say that is wonderful. If you haven't already been a volunteer with us,
right,
we ask that you come partner with us for at least 6 months. See how other intervention sites do it.
Yeah.
Step into that team leader place where you're trained and you've gone a couple of times and now you feel confident enough to lead a team. And then when you have that experience, when you see that, okay, this is something that I can say yes to on a monthly basis, or even on a weekly basis.
To make a commitment, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then we will support you, help launch the site, materials, help with research, help with training, whatever it is that we can do to facilitate you to be successful.
Yeah. You really get kind of the weight of like all of the Elijah Rising thing that we are, the leadership, even personal relationship with you and with our staff and all the resources that we kind of have at our disposal. We kind of give that to you, right? I mean, if you're launching a site, including print materials, resources, all that kind of stuff. But it's a commitment though.
It is. And we have, right now, we have site leaders that are just amazing
incredible people. And we know you listen and watch, and we thank you.
Yes. Absolutely love our site leaders.
Couldn't do it without them.
Not at all.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Yeah.
But that's another thing too, is that we want people who want to take ownership.
Yeah.
Like our site leaders take ownership of their locations and their interventions, and they stay in contact with their team leaders.
Yeah.
So we're just there to say we want to partner with you and be that place of support.
Yeah.
So that's what it looks like.
Yeah, because it's taking ownership of your own. It's not just like leading volunteers and doing good work, but it's really like owning your own neighborhood in a way, right?
Yes.
It's like that next level of saying, not in my city, and you take ownership of your space. So let's kind of shift the conversation.
Okay.
Let's start talking about challenges because we kind of walked through the strategies. So I want to talk about challenges. So I want to do it in two ways, okay? I want to first talk about the challenges we face in intervention and as it relates to reaching those who are experiencing exploitation. And then I want to come back around and talk about challenges to mobilizing an entire city of people to do the work, right? So let's start with reaching those who are being exploited. What are the challenges that you're seeing on the street and in these locations these days?
The top challenge is building trust,
Oh, okay.
and that is across the boards.
Yeah.
So you're trying to reach someone who has just been traumatized,
Sure.
who has been let down and deceived multiple times, probably from even childhood.
Yeah.
And so it is definitely a hurdle that is not for the faint of heart. Like, you really have to have that second, I like to call it the second mile character within you. Like, you have to be able to walk the second mile with people.
That's so good.
You can't look at people as projects.
Right.
That's just as bad as looking at them as objects.
Yeah, that's true. That's so true.
This is a person. This is a potential relationship in your life for life. So that is the hurdle. And those who look at people as people and have the heart for them, I have seen them run past the second mile.
Yeah. Well said.
Our intervention coordinator, Bob.
Yeah.
Like he's far surpassed the second
We
mile.
can't count the number of miles Bob has run. Yeah.
So to have that kind of heart, you
Yeah.
know, is key to the intervention volunteer.
Yeah.
And,
so good.
and we have seen success. We have seen, we have testimony upon testimony of it taking time, but that trust, that bridge of trust being built.
Yeah.
So it's worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, I know just from, keeping up with the work that you're doing, like there are some women that you're going to reach out to speak with 3, 4, 5, 6 untold number of times, and it's all worth it. Right.
Absolutely.
I mean, and building that trust. And I've heard you say, even on this podcast before, like it's about relationship. It's about trust. It's about that love that they know without a shadow of a doubt that when they see Melody on the street or walk through the front door, or Bob or whoever the volunteer is, that there's no shadow of doubt that is a trustworthy person who sees them, hears them, and loves them, and has resource for them. Right. I mean, that's the goal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and maybe we kind of already jumped into the second part of that question, but so what are the greatest challenges to mobilizing people to join intervention teams?
So I would say commitment and faithfulness to staying and being in that place of the second mile. Not too long ago, we had a lady who was a pimp, and she was speaking to another lady who was being prostituted, and we were speaking to that lady as well. And the pimp said, hey, you can't trust those church people. They can't help you. They couldn't help me. They can't help you.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Yeah. And it broke my heart
Yeah.
because it's like, I'm not even mad, not even mad by that.
Sure.
But it makes me sit back and start to think like, okay, what church people let her down?
Yeah. Yeah.
Who walked away from her? Who saw her as that project and then gave up because there wasn't a fast change, or maybe they helped her and then they saw her again on the street, which does happen.
That does happen.
So we really want that, and that too, going back to the training, we really want to train our volunteers, not in just like, hey, pray with your eyes open.
Yeah, right.
Stay 2 by 2.
The very
things
basics.
that keep you safe.
Yeah.
But also, this is the heart condition that you need to constantly be in a place of prayer about, and allowing the Lord to refine in you, because it is always a maturing. You're always going to mature in that.
Melody, thanks so much for your work, and thanks for taking the time to share with us today. But before we go, is there anything that we missed, and how can people find out more and even join an intervention team?
Sure. So our greatest need right now is for site leaders and team leaders.
Okay.
So if like we talked about, if you're watching this and you're like, man, I would love to launch an intervention site, please reach out. Reach out to me. And also maybe you were like one of those constantly signing up for interventions pre-COVID people that we absolutely love, and you want to level up. And become a team leader.
Yeah, we want you back.
We want you back.
Yeah.
one team leader can oversee 6 new intervention volunteers.
Yeah.
And so our need there is pretty great. We need those seasoned volunteers from pre-COVID time to step into that place of leadership.
Yeah.
If you are interested, if maybe you haven't volunteered before and you want to begin this journey of intervention, I say go to the website, go to that intervention/volunteer page, sign up, and we will start you on that track.
Yep.
So those are the ways. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me at admin@elijahrising.org.
Yeah. And the website, you know it. You've heard it a million times, elijahrising.org. Melody is admin, ADMIN, @elijahrising.org. We really do want you back. If you were formerly volunteering with us pre-COVID, and if you're interested in trying it for the first time, this is the person you'll be working with. Hopefully you have come to know and love her the way that we have. And so let us know and join us. And we'll see you on the next episode of the Elijah Rising Podcast. Hey, thank you for tuning in to the Elijah Rising Podcast today. If you found any value in this content, we ask that you would help further our work by subscribing to this channel and liking this video. As well, we would love to know what you think. So go ahead and comment below if you have any thoughts or reactions or questions. We read them all and we'll respond to as many as we can. Thanks again for viewing, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Elijah Rising Podcast.